Chloe and this is Philippa, and today we will be painting a flamingo. And also don't forget to like and subscribe.
So if you'd like to join in with us in painting the flamingo, you will need some paints. We're using acrylic paint, but you can use whatever paint's good for you. We are using white, a light blue, a dark blue, a turquoise, ochre yellow, a pink and a black. We have got 2 paintbrushes. I've got a big flat one and a small round one. I've also got a pencil, some kitchen roll for your artist rag, a water pot to wash your brushes out on, and you can use, we're using a canvas, but you can use paper or whatever you have around, okay? Don't rush out and buy a canvas. If you just have paper, that's perfectly fine. Right, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our background in. So forget about the flamingo now. We always start with the background, then go on to the foreground. Okay, so we need to put a horizontal line in there where the sky's going to finish and the sea's going to start. And then we're going to put in another line just where the sea's going to finish and the sand's going to start. Okay, so I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm just coming down into about a third of the way down. And I'm just lightly putting my pencil line across. So if you just do that. Yeah, about there, that's great. Brilliant. And then I'm gonna go a further way down again, so the same kind of gap, so about there. But this time I might just angle it just slightly. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight because it's where the sea is gonna be. Okay? Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to work downwards. So we're going to go from our sea, we're going to go from our sky to a sea to our sand. Sound okay? So I've got these different colour blues on here because I want to be able to see a difference between the water and the sky. So I'm going to start off by using the lighter one for my sky. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some water on my flat brush here. I'm just going to knock that off there so it's not too wet. And then I'm going to pick up loads and loads on both sides of my brush of this white. And I'm going to take the tiniest dot of blue. Okay, now when I'm painting this, I want it to be going backward and forward with my brush. So that way I'm getting the paint off of both sides. And also I'm just doing it really loosely. So I'm just going to come on my top. So I always work from my left to my right, but it doesn't matter what you start. And can you see, I'm just going just really loosely backward and forwards. I'm not going straight across, I'm just going slightly diagonal, and I'm just taking that paint all the way across there. I'm going to do that all the way down to my horizontal line. When my paint starts to dry out, all I'm going to do is pick up a little bit more. So I'm just loading up my brush again with that white and just picking up a little bit more blue.
Like that.
Beautiful. And then just a tiny bit, yeah. And then if it's not blue enough, you can put a little bit more blue on. But it's much easier to go from lighter to darker than it is from dark to lighter, because once you go too dark, it's hard to get it back lighter again. So I'm just doing it. Oh, that's beautiful.
Is it okay?
Of course it is, yeah. Yeah, just really nice loose kind of movements through there. So Kylie is probably a better artist than I am, so you are going to see a masterpiece from her today, I'm sure. Okay, so give your brush a good wash out, wipe it on your artist rag, and then we're going to put in our sea now. So the reason we go from sky to sea to sand is the sea sits in front of the sky and then the sand sits in front of the sea. Does that make sense? So that way we can overlap and it's not going to be a problem. So because I want it to be slightly different, okay, with the sea, I want it a slightly different colour. I'm still going to take lots of this white. My brush is slightly damp. I'm still using my flat brush. Okay, but this time I'm going to take a little bit of my blue, my darker blue, sorry, and a little bit of my turquoise. Now, I'm not mixing them because what should happen is, as I'm going backward and forward, I should get a few different shades of the blue, the turquoise and white all come off. So once I've done that, I'm actually going to put in my brush horizontally, so this way going across, okay? Because I want to put in my horizon line. So that is where my pencil line was. And if I put it this way, I should be able to just drag it across. Whereas if I put it vertical and go backward and forward, I'm probably going to get a bit messy. So my brush just goes on and I'm just going to drag that across.
So dark blue and turquoise.
Dark blue, turquoise and a little bit of white. And then just drag it across. So my brush has gone down. And can you see I'm just dragging that across? And I'm almost using my hand as a guide because it would be a bit darker at the back there because obviously it's a little bit deeper. And then as we come to the front on the shore, it would be getting darker. Oh, sorry, lighter. Beautiful. Lovely. Can you see how you're just getting a much nice, neater, straight line by doing that?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Now, we're going to carry on that all the way down, but this time I'm just going to keep picking up some turquoise where I want it more turquoise, a little bit of white, and again, just like we did with the sky, we're going backward and forward, backward and forward, backward and forward on our brush, making sure you've got plenty of paint on there. And can you see, I should get all these lovely different shades of blue coming through like you would have in the sea. I'm just taking it right across the page, so I'm going real horizontal with my brush now. As I come a little bit further down towards our shoreline, I'm going to get a bit lighter, so I'm going to just add a little bit more white into it. What's your favourite thing to paint, Kylie?
Sunsets.
I knew you were going to say that.
Because I love to blend.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to leave it there. Beautiful. When we come to do the sand, I've just added a new fresh amount of white to mine and Kylie's pack plate, as we're going to be using this with the yellow, and if we've got some blue in it, we're going to go a lovely shade of green. So if you can, if your white has got blue in it, make sure you get some fresh white out. Just giving my brush another good rinse off. Okay, giving it another white, check there's no blue left in there, and this time I'm going to work from the bottom of the canvas up to the line. However, I'm not going to go right up to the shoreline there. I'm going to leave myself a tiny little sliver because, again, with the yellow touching the blue, we're going to make green. Okay, so I'm going to pick up lots of white again, but this time I'm just picking up some ochre. So can you see I've not mixed them? So what should happen here is I should get some lighter ochre and some darker. Okay, so I'm just going to start at the bottom and I'm just pulling this across now. Same movement and same brush stroke throughout, okay, that's backward and forward. Where I want it a little bit darker, because it does get darker in places, I'm just picking up some ochre on its own, just blending that into the lighter ochre there. So remember, just leave yourself a tiny little sliver, don't go right up to that blue. We're going to do something else there. So I'm kind of making almost a bit hilly. Doesn't need to be perfectly straight. It's entirely up to you. Brush and have a good wash out after it. Okay, so when you've done that, what we want to do here is we're just going to go in with some white. So all I'm going to do is take my white, but I'm not going to go backward and forward with it, because if I go backward and forward, it's going to blend, which is going to make our green. So we're going to make it almost like kind of that frothy bubbles that come as they come in, sure. So I'm just taking some clean white and I'm taking lots of it. Okay. So remember, my white is, my ochre is still wet and my blue is still wet. So whilst that's wet, it will blend. So we don't particularly want it to. So all I'm going to do here is like a feathery motion. So I'm going to put my brush horizontal and I'm just going to come along kind of very lightly and just through there. Can you see? So just in between the two, because you can tell a difference if it's got paint on it or if it's just your blank canvas. So I don't want it just to be a blank canvas. So I'm just wiping that through there. And I don't mind if it stays quite thick because it's bubbles, so it have texture to it. That's it, gorgeous. That's lovely. Do you know what I'm going to do? Oh, I really like that. Do you know what I'm going to do? Because mine is quite like harsh line there. So what I could do now is I could pick up lots of white. This is only if you want to be really kind of particular. And I'm just taking a tiny bit of that turquoise. Okay, so I've got lots of white. And then just along the very top, I'm just going to blend it in a little bit. Can you see?
Yeah.
So I'm just making it just slightly more of a lighter blue and off white, just so I don't get real lines there. Yeah, that's much better, softer. But that's only if you're being really fussy. Like. That's lovely. What did we paint the first time you came then? Was it a Halloween?
I don't know, but I feel like it kind of looked like Halloween because it was those like it was an autumn one. It had those trees.
Oh, the trees and the path. Oh, yeah. So yeah, it must have been the October half term.
Yeah.
That's gorgeous. Okay, guys. So we can't go straight on with our drawing of our flamingo because our painting's wet. So what you're going to do is give yourself a half an hour break. Okay, and when you come back to do the next part, just make sure it's dry. You'll know it's dry by if you give it a little touch with your finger and just see if you've got any paint on there. Okay, so come back in a bit once your painting is ready to have your flamingo put on. Okay, so welcome back. We're just going to check it's dry. So once again, if you use your little finger and just give it a touch and just make sure no paint's coming off. Have you got a little bit of paint on there, Kylie? Try it on this area because this is where. And this bit here, is that okay?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, then you're good to go. So we're now going to put in our flamingo. Okay, so I'm just going to mark a little dot. That's where I want the head of the flamingo to be. So I'm going to come quite central and I'm just going to put a little mark there. Okay, so mine's going to start there.
Like that?
Yeah, perfect. Now, I'm going to start from the top and I'm just going to shape it round, okay? So at the very top where you've given yourself a mark, we're just going to do kind of like a little frown shape. So can you see? Just a mark there, just for a little frown. Yeah? Then I'm going to bring that down and I'm going to curve it. So I'm just curving it round. So we're going to take these very kind of gradual bits. Perfect. Now I'm going to give myself a really kind of long neck. So I'm going to bring this down and I'm going to keep coming and coming, and I'm going right through the water there. And I'm going to stop about there. Okay, now once you get there, we're going to do a U. So we're going to bring this back up again. So I'm just putting a U shape in. Can you see that? Just like giving it a flick on the end. And then I'm going to now bring that into quite a big kind of hill. My hill's going to come right out here. Going to have quite a large flamingo. So just keep taking it as big as you want. Yep, perfect. Now, I'm going to bring this down a little bit on my head. So I'm going back up to the top and I'm just bringing it down slightly. And then I'm going to just finish it off there with the kind of just end it off, just round it off there. And then I'm going to bring this back around. And I'm almost going to do it like I was doing bubble writing. So I'm going to follow my shape. I'm going to get slightly smaller as I come onto the next. So I'm getting a bit bigger here. And then this is where its head's going to be. And then I'm just going to follow that down. Follow where I've always been, right up until I get to the bottom of the neck. Does look like the Loch Ness Monster, doesn't it? And then I'm going to come now and I'm going to once again do my U shape again, but nowhere near as tight. And I'm going to stop here. And then I'm just going to curve it round to the bottom. So not as curved, but... And then I'm just going to come up just to meet it. Beautiful.
Reminds me of an ostrich.
An ostrich? Well, it could be an ostrich. Hopefully the pink will make it look like a flamingo. Right, I'm just going to come to the middle of my body there and I'm just going to pull straight down. I have ever so long legs and that's my first leg. And we're going to kind of do a 4 shape here. So now that one's gone straight down. I'm going to pull it out in a diagonal kind of movement backwards. You can see, so I've done a diagonal line going back. That's it. And then I'm going to pull it back across the other way so it crosses over the other leg. Because flamingos like to stand on one leg. And then I'm going back up to the head. And on here, I'm just going to do this kind of curve with the flick. Okay, so I'm just going to come from the top and I'm just going to curve it round and down. And again, I'm going to now pull it back up. So I'm going to curve it back up so it meets the other part of the head, just like that. Lovely. And let's put our eye in. Shall we put our eye in? No, let's leave it. We'll put our eye in last. Yeah? Okay. Just give yourself just a little line across the beak, halfway. Because that is where we're going to have black and white. Okay. We're ready to paint this now?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So, when coming to painting, we're going to use our very small pointy brush. Much better to use because they are kind of more delicate. Okay, so really good for detailing. When I'm coming to painting my flamingo, the first part I'm actually going to do is this part here, which should be white on a flamingo. But however, if I try and do that at the end when I do the black, I'm going to get a lovely grey. So I'm going to take a little bit of water on my brush this time, not too much. Okay, and I'm wiping that excess water off. And I'm just going to pick up some clean white, so no blue and no yellow in it. Now, can you see I've put it on there really kind of smoothly. I've pulled my paint out flat and I'm just going to give it a little twist on there so that'll make my brush nice and pointy so it's nice and easy to detail with. And all I'm going to do is just fill in that smaller section there with white. This will need probably a couple of going over. So we'll do it once and then we'll let it dry. Okay. What we want to do is get lots of texture to make it look like feathers. So I'm not going to put any water on my brush now.
Okay.
So I've just put some more white on the plate for me and Kylie. You'll probably notice that I use white with everything. So it's nice to have like lots of white there and you want to make sure it's clean. So all I'm going to do now, I don't need to wash out my brush because I've already used the white, is I'm picking up lots of this white but I'm also going to pick up some pink. Now again, what should happen is when I come to paint, I should get some white and I should get some pink. So the movement we're going to kind of use here is we're just going to flick. Okay, and we're kind of following the shape of the flamingo's back as we come around. So we don't want to be brushing it backward and forwards because that's going to make it blend. We're just wanting to flick. So I'm going to start at the back here and I'm just flicking over. Can you see that? Just flick, flick. And I'm kind of pulling down with it. And I'm just going to keep picking up lots of this paint, making sure there's no water on my brush the whole time. And we don't want to see any of that blue sea. I'm coming over my line as well. Because they're feathers, they wouldn't be sitting directly in it. It's almost just like a guide. And can you see I'm really giving it some good flicks there? Almost like you're kind of doing a rainbow, so it's flick, flick. And now I'm only doing this on the body. I'm going to change the direction I go when it comes to the neck. So acrylic paint's really good for this because it's ever so thick if you don't dilute it down. So you can almost make it like a watercolour if you add the water to it. But if you don't, it's almost like an oil paint. It gives lots of lovely texture. That's it, that's gorgeous. So do you like flamingos?
Yeah.
Because you asked to paint a flamingo, didn't you? So I thought, oh, you must like them.
Yeah.
So the whole time I'm just picking up them colours. Whereas if I mix them, what you're going to get is one flat colour, which is good.
You won't get any texture.
Exactly. So this is really good to get like lots of texture in it and see the difference, and it makes it more 3D.
Yeah.
Mixing is good for different things, but I like to kind of pick mine up as I go. Look at that lovely fluffy flamingo. That's beautiful. So where do you paint when you're at home? Do you paint in your kitchen or?
I paint in my living room.
In your living room? Your mum's brave.
And basically there's paint like all over the table.
Yeah, there's paint all over my table.
And all over my clothes. Literally every clothes. Always.
Well, that's why you need overalls.
Yeah. Well, I've got my painting jeans on.
Your painting jeans, that weren't your painting jeans until you got paint on them.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is now we've done our body. Are you happy with yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. We are going to do something else. We're going to do like a stippling motion. So stippling is like this, okay?
Yeah.
So it means, so you're doing lots of dots, but they're all touching each other.
Okay.
So if I just show you, I'll show you on the back of this actually. So we're kind of going, still picking up two different colours. Remember, you don't want to over stipple because it will blend, but it's this kind of motion, okay? So you're just dotting and then you're getting like a real kind of bitty effect. So we are going to do that.
Should I wash out my brush?
No need, because we're using the same colour and we want to keep our brushes dry. So again, I'm picking up some white, I'm picking up a little bit of pink, and I'm just going to start through here. Can you see? I'm just dotting them down. But every dot needs to touch the one you did previously. Again, if you just keep stippling over the same bit, it will keep blending it. Oh, don't know what that is. Come right up here onto the head, and just make sure you go over your pencil lines.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that really does give it.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Texture.
That's lovely. I love how you've got your darker than lighter. I said you'd be better, that yours will be better than mine. So just stippling all the way up. Like I said, we're going to put that eye in after, so don't worry about that.
I'm actually surprised I drew it.
I know.
I've never drew anything freehand.
See? But sometimes when you're drawing, you just have to kind of look at for the shapes that you can do. Or I always say a frown and a smile, or see just the easiest way.
I always just say trust the process.
Exactly, trust the process. I'm going to make mine a little bit lighter on the top of its head because the sun's hitting it there. Has your flamingo got a name? And whilst you're doing that, I can just put a little bit more feathers on mine, because the more it dries, then I can add a little bit more texture to it.
Yeah.
Remember, whilst that paint's wet, it will just keep blending, so. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to give our brushes a wash out. Even though we're going to use the same colour now, we still want them washed out because we want to make this part a little bit kind of damp when we're going to do its legs. Okay, so what I'm going to do with my brush is just make sure it's kind of nice and pointy. It's slightly damp, and I am going to put a little bit more water on there actually. I'm going to now pick up some of that white, and I'm going to pick up some pink, and I'm actually going to mix them in together. Because if I just pick them up separately, they'd be like a big thick clump. Yeah. Okay, so this way you need a steady hand. Pardon?
I don't have any room.
Use my clay, there you go. So when you're doing this bit, make sure your brush is nice and thin as well. Okay, and we're going to have a real steady hand for this. Okay. So my brush is upright. So if it's upright, I know I'm just going to be using the tip of my brush. Whereas if I come down like this, I know I'm using all of the brush. Yeah. Okay, and all I'm going to do is kind of put it on there and drag down. I need a little bit more white. If yours shows the pencil mark through, just add a little bit more white to it. Okay, and I'm just pulling it through, down, 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 down. And then I'm going to follow that 4 shape as well. So this is going to come off. Remember, keeping your brush upright, and you're not really putting any weight on your brush. Right, so if I went on with my brush like this, I know I'm going to get a big clump. So just give it a little roll. And then it's going to come across there. And then just at the end, I'm just going to put like a little foot on it. So it's just like bending forward almost. Yeah. So just a flick on the end there. And also, where its kind of elbow bit is, they seem to have kind of quite a round kind of elbow bone, so I'm going to just thicken that up just slightly through there, just so we know where its knee joint is, and I'm going to put one here as well, but only tiny. Put a little foot on the end of this one as well. See it? Lovely. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go over and paint my black in where my beak is. So again, want my brush, a little bit of water on it, and then knock the excess water off. And I want to make sure that brush is really nice and kind of pointy. Just going to take a little bit of black. Now when you take it, make sure you pull it out, because if you're pulling it out, you know it's going to be nice and thin, that paint. Whereas if you scoop it up, you're going to get a big lump. Roll it on your plate. So can you see it's nice and pointy now? Yeah. And again, my brush is upright. And I'm just going to come around here and just take your time filling it in. Remember, just use the tip of your brush. If you lay your brush down, you're going to get the whole width of your brush. And then all I'm going to do once I've filled in is keep it right upright, not putting any more paint on my brush. And I'm just going to pull myself just a little line. You're so delicate. Beautiful. Yeah, just a tiny little line. That's it. Brushes give them a good wash out. We need to put an eye in. Now, do you know what colour eyes flamingos have?
No.
They have yellow. Well, ones that I've seen have got yellow. So I'm going to, again, take some of this ochre. Okay, make sure it's a little bit flat. And I'm not going to do a big circle. I'm using just my brush, and just above where that line sits, I'm just going to put a splodge of yellow. I'm kind of just stippling that around so it's not too heavy. And then using the end of our brush, so this part here.
We get the black and dip it in.
We get the black, we dip it in, and we're just going to give ourselves a dot in the middle of that yellow, which is going to be our pupil. Hey, you happy with it?
Yeah, I love it.
Beautiful. And there you have it, guys. Our beautiful flamingos.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Thank you for watching. Bye.